I'm meant to be at the dock in 15 minutes, but this is what happens. They tried to start the engine maybe 10 times. My record was about 20. And it's just annoying that we should have moored up opposite in case this happened. But because it started at the 8th time yesterday, I thought this would be okay. But hopefully if I start it, it's just boom, schmack, 5 minutes down. But I haven't taken down the canopy yet, so let's see. It's fucked. Oh my god. I'm hoping that, you know, when I film, that everything just suddenly goes. So that's why we're gonna try another time. That was stressful. And it was raining more earlier. So it's not bad. It's okay. This is okay. It's okay. Well. Still in a house. I'm just coming here to sort of give another update of what you are just watching / just watched, because life has gone downhill for the Temple Bell and the Capstine. So I came to the dry dock. I was only supposed to do some blacking and do a survey. And I didn't have to do a survey, but because I had one that came with the boat, which was only a year old. And let me tell you here that you can't trust anyone, is the bottom line of this video. Because a lot of boaters do say you should get your own survey. Like, I've heard that said, but being Norwegian and trusting that, well, trusting systems, you know, trusting that people aren't bad. I didn't get my own survey because it had one that was less than a year old. So, and that survey and all the previous surveys seemed to be in very good, which made of different people and for different people, seemed to say quite a nice general opinion of the boat. But The second the surveyor started banging on my hull, it wasn't a good sound. Laughter is my way of coping with this. Also, I'm filming this months after, and it's been a process to process it all. It's been absolutely horrible, to be honest, and because it is my home and it's an investment. Obviously, it's not a house, but I looked at a boat as a social investment because the world is going to the shits. Boats are the next home for people who can't afford it, and it's off grid, which is very much in the wind, literally at the moment. Anyway, I saw it as a nice place to be, so I was quite sad when I was told, how much money do you have? And then we only did like one layer of blacking because we'd pressure washed it, so we need to put something back on. The things that they didn't have time to fix the hole at that time, because obviously that would take a bit more time and someone else was coming in later that week, so I had to come back. So that will be for the next, a few videos down, because there's shit's happening in the meantime. The hull is in quite bad shape, and it's because it's been rusting from the inside, not the outside, which isn't unusual, but I wasn't expecting it. And someone down the line before me has just not taken care of it, because there was no water in the hull when we checked. So someone has known and not written it down or told someone, whatever. So I had to do some overplating, which is the worst word you can tell a boater. So I have to put steel on top of the steel. So I had to come back and do that for the whole length of both sides, about this high. I don't know how much that's, 30 centimeter, 15, about 30 centimeter high, and the length of the boat pretty much. And it was also something about the what are they called? Fuck, I can look that up. I'll write it here now. These things needed to be replaced as well, because they've been stitch welded on the bottom. I don't know if that's a normal thing, but for me, who knows nothing about it, makes it even sound like a stupid idea, because if it's stitch welded, it's only, pointed. It's not welded all through the steel. Who knows? Not me, but I was told it wasn't in good shape anyway. And then my engine was, not starting, as you saw. Lots of problems there. I got a new alternator fitted and some new cables, because the whole thing was, as mentioned, very weirdly fitted. Right, so I believe the relay was between the alternator and the starter motor, and it should have been between the leisure batteries and the starter battery. But again, I don't really know anything about this, so it doesn't really make sense for me to talk too much about this, but that seems to have been a big problem, and I might even have said something wrong right now, but I think that's how it was, and it caused problems, so that even if I had a functioning alternator, which I didn't, in the end, it would have only produced about 2 amps instead of, I think it was a 50 amp one. It was now replaced with a 40 amp alternator, which is, I've used it a little bit and it has been very nice. It's finally charging some of my batteries, but it now is a bit sad actually, because I got new leisure batteries last year, and actually I thought I needed that. I was ill-advised, I think, from reading too much on Facebook. This is the problem, because I don't know anyone particularly to ask these questions, I do my own research, and then I research so much, and I end up taking choices that aren't quite necessary to my situation. And people have so many opinions, it's exhausting. And I have no idea who to believe anymore. Anyway, so I got new leisure batteries, and also my starter battery isn't new, but because this alternator hasn't been working, it's drained my batteries so badly. Like, it's never really, even though I thought I have been charging them, I haven't. Like, I really haven't, because I have never had my engine on for more than, well, when I tripped through Little Venice is probably the longest, which was what, 7-8 hours. So, you know, it's never been able to charge properly with 2 amps. So I can sense it now that my batteries are not resting at like 1269 volts, which I think is where you're supposed to, or a bit higher. They are resting at, well, they're not really resting, because they go down all the way until the sun comes back on. They go down to like, with nothing pulling them, they go down to like 1249, 47, like something quite down there. And I know that's not disastrous, but it means that, why are they going down when nothing is being pulled? Like, nothing is using them, you know. Right, so essentially that's what happened after this. I got into the dry dock, beautifully done. I was there for a week and stayed with a friend. Stayed with 2 friends, actually. Thanks guys. Very useful to have friends again who has couches, beds, and most of all, showers. Oh yes, that reminds me, because obviously when I finally picked up the boat again, the banging from the surveyor into the hull, he banged it where my water tank is. And this is when we finally I'm gonna have to start the story there again, because when I finally got to pick up the boat, it didn't start, because I don't know why it didn't. Well, I know why it didn't start now, but that's for future. That's for a future video. So the battery drained, and essentially we managed to power up the batteries again with like one of those battery chargers, boosters, and finally got it started. And I was smiling, you know, about to go back. You know, I got my boat back, and then I had to wash my hands. And I can't wash my hands because there's no water coming out. So what's happened, because he had been hammering, the rust from inside the tank had clogged my water pump. So it was just nothing. I'm imagining like a lump of rust in front of the inlet from the tank, because it wasn't in the filter yet. So it must have been further out, yeah, in the tank, you know. So I couldn't wash my hands. So I think I stayed over for a night. But, you know, there's when you don't have that much drinking water and you have been tested, this is not what you needed, you know. So I think I stayed for one night, and then I went to Katrina for another night, and then I think Katrina came back to me, and this is for the next video, so to fix it, so that's in another video. But yeah, that wasn't great to not have running water, because it's like, I don't have much on this boat. It's quite a, you know, what is that, minimalist life. And running water is something that a lot of people take for granted, and which I did back in the day. You know, it's only when you come face to face with not having running water that you realize how important it is. And not having running water was a bit of another challenge to the list of challenges. You know, I get a bit numb to these challenges these days, because it's just a bit much that I can't really take it in. So it's like, oh, I don't have running water, whatever. And then I figure out another way, which is use my drinking water from bottles. But, you know, I have to collect those water bottles. So that's a bit of and if I'm not by a water point, I have to bring them from work or from friends and stuff. And it's a bit heavy to travel around with lots of liters of water on my back. It's just not something you want to do, is it? So that's essentially what came out from just wanting to black the hull and to do a survey that I didn't really need, you know. So that's my message to you guys. Don't get a survey unless you're getting a new boat, because if you're buying a boat, get your own survey. But this is the thing, it turns out it's the surveyor, most likely, who's missed something here. And then how do you know who's the right surveyor? Like, especially me coming from, well, it's not just about me being Norwegian, you know, coming from a different country. It's that I don't know the boating culture or like the boating ins and outs and stuff. And it doesn't really matter how much I research, because people keep different opinions constantly different opinions, because it's such a niche little world that there's no general, you know. I feel like the only general thing on a boat that everybody knows is nothing. Actually, I can't come up with anything that everybody knows in the canal world. Yeah, so even if I found my own surveyor, I probably, you know, there's a likelihood that they wouldn't have said the true thing either. So here we are. Don't trust anyone. Only get, actually, this is my only real advice. Only get a boat if you know a mechanic and you know an electrician and you know a surveyor that you can trust. That's my advice, and that's how I'll stop this video. So, chip ahoy from my land ahoy.